Thanks for joining me on Menopause Unscripted. Remember, the change is just another beginning.
Hello, I am Dr. Heidi Gassler, and I'm welcoming you back to Menopause Unscripted. Today I am joined with my good friend, Nicole, who is the content creator for a social media channel called Dope Kitchen. She started this platform about 5 years ago?
5 years.
5 years ago. And I've asked her to come here today to do an episode about social media and medicine and health. I would consider her a social media expert, if you will. And so I've asked her to come and talk about her experiences and her uses of social media for her own health and medical wellness. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Could you tell me a little bit about how you started your platform and your experiences in starting it?
Sure. I started about 3 weeks into the pandemic. I had no intentions of starting a influencer channel or like a channel to make certain things for an audience. I just got bored in my home while we were all on lockdown, and I baked a pie, got high while I was doing it, and I recorded myself and decided to just stitch a little video together and post it to my Instagram story to make my friends laugh while we were all confused about what was going on in the world. So some friends encouraged me to post it to TikTok, and I did. And I remember posting it and closing the app, and 6 hours later I come back to a couple tens of thousands of views, which back then was kind of a big deal, I guess, because TikTok didn't have as many content creators on the app as it does now. And it was just incredible. A lot of people just kept asking me to make more content, and I said, sure, I'll keep getting high and cooking, and sharing that part of myself with the world sounds fun. And it's grown quite a bit over the last 5 years. And it's been an incredible journey. I've shared a lot of myself and my personal life through social media, and that's kind of allowed me to connect with my audience a bit more, and for them to get to know me and trust me on a different level. So I've talked a lot about mental health, a lot about travel, my journey with coming out later in life. So much about myself is just put onto social media, and it's really helped me develop a really fun community online.
And if I remember right, I feel like that first video, you may have had a Southern accent.
Yeah. Sometimes when I have an edible, I just have a Southern accent. I just turn into like a Paula Deen without the racism.
Very funny.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't have a Southern accent now. And we've known each other, by the way, for
6 or 7 years maybe.
Yeah, we met at the gym.
Yeah.
We were gym rat friends together first, and so I think we met doing strongman with our friend Justin, and so we've been friends a long time. And how many TikTok followers are you up to now, and kind of what now is your viewership in terms of number of views per video?
I have about 1.2 million followers on TikTok, a little under 500,000 on Instagram, about 900,000 on Facebook, which I had no idea people still use Facebook, honestly. It's a little mind-blowing that that's my second biggest platform, and a very small following on YouTube, about 30,000. And my viewership kind of ranges. There are a lot more content creators out there now. There's a lot more competition in terms of competing for views and for people's attention. So I used to have videos that went viral all the time, and now I'm not quite seeing the same viewership today, which is okay because I'm already planning my transition away from social media so I can go off in the world and do other things. But, I still have a very loyal following, and I still feel like I have a close relationship with my followers in what I choose to share with them and how we all kind of connect to each other and relate with each other.
With the things you choose to share, you mentioned that you've shared a lot of your personal life. What do you feel like has resonated and connected most with your viewership?
I think mental health and my mental health journey over the last 5 years has really resonated with people. I think social media in general can look like a person's highlight reel, and we tend to see our friends or influencers or other people on social media just living their best lives and traveling all the time, and everything looks like rainbows and butterflies. Everything is seen through rose-colored glasses, but the reality is everyone is struggling with something, and I never wanted to portray myself as someone who has her shit together, pardon my French.
You can totally swear.
Okay. But I just wanted to be real with people, and the reality is, like, I have mood swings, I have depression. I deal with seasonal depression, mostly in the summer because I hate being hot. I love the winter.
It's like the opposite of most people. It's the opposite,
yeah. And, you know, I just like sharing these, like, lower moments of my life with people because it helps people feel maybe a little bit more connected to me. And throughout that mental health journey, I've shared, like, how I've used mushrooms for my mental health, how I've, like, seen many doctors to talk about different plans to help better my mental health, whether it's therapists or naturopathic doctors, etc. I've talked about my journey with PMDD, which is something I realize I've had for now probably over a decade, but I didn't formally get diagnosed and start to get treated until a little over a year ago. But sharing all of this kind of allows me to have deeper conversations with people who are going through the same thing. And it's almost like we have a bit of a parasocial relationship with people who I've never met before, but they feel like they can connect to my story and my struggles, or even just by sharing what I'm going through, it kind of helps someone think about what they're going through and realize that it could be something deeper, and they'll use my story to then present it to their doctor and say, like, this is what I think I might have because, you know, my mood swings are awful during my luteal phase. So yeah, it's just been a great place to share things with people and connect.
Well, as you know, this is a women's health related channel. Could we go back to the PMDD, and could you tell our audience a little bit more about what that is, what you experienced, and kind of your journey specifically with that diagnosis?
So PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and it's, my girlfriend and I like to describe it as, like, PMS is just a headache. Pretty much everyone gets a headache every once in a while. But PMDD is like a migraine, and not everybody experiences migraines, and it's a lot worse, and it's kind of debilitating sometimes. So it's just PMS turned up like crazy.
Like 100 times.
Yeah. So for me, when I look back on my life, probably starting since college or maybe around grad school is when my symptoms really started. I just kind of noticed that I would go through waves of depression. For about a week or two, I would be really low, down in the dumps, really sad. And then the next couple of weeks, I'd be happy again and energetic. And to me, it didn't feel like anything like bipolar disorder, because I never really had like a manic episode, but my depression would lead to me being really irritable, kind of snappy, angry, sad, lots of negative thoughts happening in my head, but I didn't think anything of it. I just thought I was depressed, and it took years for me to finally start tracking my depressed moods and my symptoms. And that's when I started to realize, I think this is cyclical. Like, it usually happens around the same time every month, the same time of my menstrual cycle. So I started to connect it to my period. And it was actually our mutual friend, Shay, who mentioned to me that it sounds like what my symptoms are, sounds like PMDD. And that's when this light bulb kind of went off in my head, and I started seeking out help and saw a naturopathic doctor, told her all of my symptoms. We talked about the way that hormones can be affected by so many things in our environments, whether it's the makeup you use, the cleaning supplies you use, the food you eat. And I started to take a deeper look at everything that was in my environment, trying to change things a bit naturally first before any more drastic interventions, even like medicine or antidepressants. I had some like hormone topicals, like I had a progesterone topical that I was using for a little while, and I didn't feel too different. So eventually I got on antidepressants, and I've only been on it for like 2 months, but so far with 2 cycles, it has definitely helped. But it was hard. I don't think I really recognized my PMDD symptoms until I got into a relationship and moved in with my partner, because then, like, during my luteal phase, I still have to be around someone, and that just has so many triggers that go along with just living with someone while I'm in a terrible mood. But when I was living alone and single, I could just kind of hide in my little cave.
You could just cave out and not have to.
I wouldn't have to interact with people, so my symptoms were never like that bad. So yeah, so it's been a tough journey mentally, but I'm glad I'm starting to figure it out a little bit and feel a little bit more stable.
Me too.
Hell yeah.
How have you used, if you have you used social media at all to help you navigate this? Aside from sharing it, have you been doing anything to get information about PMDD through social media or any of your other health challenges?
With PMDD specifically, I haven't really sought out information, but based on the algorithms getting to know you really well as a person, it just kind of has showed me a lot of information about PMDD. So one thing that I found on TikTok, and actually a lot of my followers even like tagged me in videos or sent me videos related to this, is that apparently taking like Pepsid AC or an antihistamine can help with PMDD symptoms, and there are a lot of people who claim, based on their own personal experience, that it helps put them in a better mood, because there's some connection to histamines and hormonal changes in your body that happen around the luteal phase. I don't know the science of it, but I was willing to try it a couple times. I personally didn't feel a huge difference, but it was certainly interesting to see that come across my TikTok feed.
Yeah, you're like, and here's the Dr. TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that being said, I'd like to show you some women's health videos.
Okay.
They may not relate to you, but I think it's important. You're about 10 years younger than me. And one of the things that I really want to kind of help women to understand is that you don't have to be in menopause or even perimenopause to start learning and doing research on these things. And as we know, the algorithms start to get to know us. So even here, our phones are probably listening to us right now, and I'm so sorry. But you're going to probably leave here and you're going to get so much stuff about perimenopause and menopause on your phone.
Okay.
It's just what happens. But I think it's really important that generationally we start learning earlier. So kind of like with the PMDD, you start having symptoms. You can start recognizing them for what they are and actually have informed conversations with your practitioner. And I think it's important we learn about this younger. Like, I wish we all learned about this in like high school health class so we can prepare. And also maybe have better relationships with our moms. Or our aunts, people who are going through this, and we're just going like, why do you keep rolling down the window? You're blowing up my eardrums, and not realizing your mom like rolling up and down the window. This is personal experience, okay? My mom used to drive me bananas. I'd be like, can you just pick a window spot? And now that I've gone through it, I'm like, oh, I get it. It's like, I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm hot, I'm cold. But I had really not a lot of empathy before. So I think it's really helpful to understand these things when we're younger.
For sure. My mom's trick is to roll the window all the way down and turn on the heated seats in the car.
Doc, that's your trick.
Yeah, best of both worlds.
That's why I wear a Patagonia in the car and then have a heat seaters. I can't talk.
Seated heat.
Heaters. Yes. Jesus. It's the end of a workday, people. This is why it's unscripted. Who knows what's going to come out? But then the windows are down for this doofus. And so I'm like, hot, cold. And he has to have the AC blasting at like 60. So I guess he's helping me with my menopause in a way. Sorry, and thank you for helping me with my hot flashes, Doc. If you can't see him, he's just laying by Nicole's feet because he loves her. All right, so we're going to rock and roll into the next part. I'm going to start showing Nicole some videos on TikTok, and I'm going to get her honest reaction. And then we're going to take a moment to explain each one about, is this real or not real? And if it's not real or real, we're going to explain why. Okay. You ready?
Interesting. Okay.
Are you doing Kegels, or is that something anyone has talked to you about yet in life?
I've heard about Kegels, but I mostly heard them in the context of, I guess, like a school recess, you know? People learned about what a Kegel was and they went around telling their friends, like, oh, you should tighten your vagina and do Kegels. Like, nothing serious, nothing like in a health-related way. Nobody's ever told me they're good for me, but they're for tightening your vagina.
Okay.
But that's all I know about them. I've never done them.
So this is perfect, because give yourself a few years.
Okay.
And at some point, you're going to think, oh my gosh, I need to do Kegels. So here's the long and short of it. Okay, Kegels are strengthening our pelvic floor muscles. And by the way, no matter what your gender is, man, woman, someone who's transgender, everyone has a pelvic floor, also regardless of age. Kids have pelvic floors. You're 90, you have a pelvic floor. It is a muscular part of your body. And yes, it does tighten your vagina. However, a tight vagina is not always the best vagina. Okay, so there are episodes on TV, I'm sure you can find them on YouTube, where it'll tell you things like, you should be doing 500 Kegels a day. If I told you to do 500 bicep curls a day, would you think that that's like a good thing for you to do?
Not at all.
And if your bicep hurt, and I told you to do Kegels, okay, or bicep curls, would you think that's a good idea?
Not at all.
Okay, so if you have pelvic pain, or you have some sort of dysfunction, like you're peeing your pants, for example, okay, if you have incontinence, you have pain, Kegels are not your friend, and they're not going to actually fix it. Okay, biceps, like your vagina, your vajayjay muscles. I'm just making up words, people. Need to be able to contract, and they need to be able to relax. Okay, so if I'm just doing Kegels, like 500 of these suckers a day, all the time, picking up the kids from school, going to meet my girlfriend for coffee, doesn't matter, you can actually create dysfunction. And that dysfunction could actually be you peeing your pants more.
Wow.
Having pain with sex, whatever sex means to you, doesn't matter. You can have pain with sex. You could have problems with urinary retention, meaning you can't get all the pee out. That can lead to UTIs, more peeing your pants, or having to do something called a double void, meaning you get up and have to like move around and then try to get the rest of the pee out. So if you came in to see me as a patient, say for example you're doing box jumps, which I'm pretty sure you've done for me at some point, and you are having pain, heaviness in your vagina, or you're leaking, I'm going to make sure first you can fully relax your pelvic floor before I ever teach you how to do a Kegel.
Okay.
So if someone starts telling you to do a bunch of Kegels, don't believe that that is like the end-all be-all of pelvic floor treatment. Okay, so that's video one. This is like the fear-mongering on social media that just makes me really upset, because people come in and they're terrified, or text me at 2 p.m. What's gonna happen to my body? So here's one that actually pertains to you and your age group, because you are still menstruating. If I can say that, you are still having a period. Fair? Okay, so.
Did you know that this is the size and shape of your uterus? And this is the size and shape of your uterus when you are on your period or about to bleed. Our uterus doubles in mass and volume every cycle. Isn't that insane? Have ever felt extra heaviness during your cycle? It's because your uterus is literally weighing you down.
Have you heard this before?
I haven't heard about like the specific ounces of your uterus, but I certainly don't step on a scale, and I do wear comfy clothing when I'm on my period.
Okay, do you know why your uterus weighs more at the end of your cycle than at the beginning of your cycle?
No.
Okay, let's just have a quick little discussion about Uterus Anatomy 101 and about your cycle. Okay, so when we start our period, day 1 of our period is actually day 1 of our whole cycle. Okay, during that time, our estrogen is going up. All right, our estrogen is going up in order to start preparing our body to potentially have a pregnancy. Okay, so at that point, we ovulate. We're trying to have our uterus become a very friendly environment, if you will, for an embryo. So we ovulate. That egg starts traveling through our body, looking for a potential home. Okay? When it reaches our uterus, if we're going to get pregnant and have a child, our uterus needs to be a nice, friendly, happy zone for the embryo to implant, which means that that needs to be fluffy, if you will. It needs to be full of blood. It needs to have a lot of fluid, which means that from the time we start our cycle, when it's little, by that point, it's going to get larger and heavier because it's holding a lot of blood and a lot of fluid. If we get pregnant and that embryo, that means that when we get pregnant, it means we've ovulated, it has become fertilized. 3, it's implanted. Okay, that's how we get pregnant. If it implants, that is going to stay fluffy because we have now a lot of progesterone in our body. And that progesterone, your best friend or worst enemy, I'm not quite sure which, is going to keep it fluffy, which means it's going to stay heavier because it gives us a nice happy home for that embryo. If we don't get pregnant, okay, if no embryo implantation happens, then our progesterone drops. That's what triggers us to have menses, have our bleeds start. And in which case, all of that blood and all of that fluid that has collected goes away because our period has started. And our uterus will then shrink it back down and it'll become less ounces, and then the process starts all over again.
Interesting.
That's why the second half, when we're in that luteal phase and we're kind of preparing for menses, maxing out at the time our period starts, is why it's going to be so much larger and heavier, and then we feel more bloated, more heavy through our midsection.
And that's what gives me a bad mood.
Yes, exactly. You're like, not only am I bloated and feeling heavy, but I have no progesterone, and I'm like, no hormone, like all your hormones are kind of gone.
Yeah.
And you feel like crap.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. I guess I didn't think about it as like all of the blood kind of pooling in there toward the end of your cycle, and then the start of your cycle is when it kind of
goes out,
drains out. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's not like it's like a fluid-filled sac. It's actually the walls are thicker. So it's like the walls are like, instead of this thin wall, it's a nice fluffy wall. And so it's the whole wall is thicker, and it's actually that lining of that wall that sheds when we bleed.
Interesting.
Like,
good to know.
Health anatomy.
I'm sure I was taught that in middle school health class.
I don't know that I was.
I just don't remember it.
I mean, it's a long time ago for us both, but also, you're 10 years more progressive than I am. I do not think that was taught. We just saw a woman giving birth on a video. And
we did too, the miracle of life.
Yes.
That scarred me.
Yeah.
That scarred me for sure.
Middle school PTSD. Thank you, everyone. Do you remember watching in a classroom full of your peers and everyone's just like, oh, I mean, that will scare you straight.
We watched it in religion class, 9th grade high school.
Well, I'll share with you that my next podcast guest is a sex therapist. And we're actually talking about religious trauma and sexual health.
Wow, that's an interesting topic.
So tune in for that one.
Hell yeah.
Given the fact that yours is part of a religious experience,
yeah.
I will definitely bring that up with her.
Good old Catholics.
Oh yeah, those Catholics. All right, let's not watch the next health scare video here. All right. You like toilets as much as I do.
Oh,
so.
hell yeah.
This is true. Pushing while you're peeing can actually weaken your pelvic floor with time. This can lead to eventual dysfunction.
That's exactly how I pee.
Is by pushing?
Not by pushing.
By listening to that music?
No, but the position.
The leaning forward?
Yeah.
That's delightful. Do you breathe while you pee? Whoops.
Yeah, I'm sure I do. I do. And I try to limit my time on the toilet as well. I get mad at my girlfriend for sitting for too long on her phone. I'll spend maximum 2 minutes on the toilet with my phone, but otherwise I'm just in and out real quick.
Well, please show her this because I'm going to talk directly to her right now. Sorry, girl. About why you need to like get on, get out, get off, and get out. Okay. So the reason we don't push while we pee, your position is fine, but make sure you're breathing. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we push when we pee, all right, and I'm totally guilty of this because I'm always trying to hurry, and it's like I've got a patient out here, I've got to pee really fast, I'm gonna hurry, and like right now we only have one bathroom, so I'm like always trying to hurry. I need to take some breaths and not do this, and the reason why is that when you push when you pee or poop, for that matter, number one, we're putting a lot of pressure on our pelvic floor muscles. When we pee and poop, we actually need our muscles to relax, not be contracted, because it'll help things to flow out of our bodies better. So why we don't want to push when we pee is that number one, we train our muscles improperly. So instead of letting them relax, we're actually contracting. And by pushing everything out of our holes, like through that contracted muscles, we can actually train them poorly and create, again, that pelvic dysfunction we talked about earlier with the Kegels. It's kind of like a reverse Kegel, but I've got this elongated muscle that I'm now pushing against, and now I'm detraining it in another way and creating pelvic dysfunction. So again, it can create that urinary retention. It can create a feeling of overactive bladder, meaning that you can like feel like you have to go all the time, which nobody has time for.
Right.
Okay. We can also create problems like hernias, which we don't want, hemorrhoids, which we definitely don't want, or if we have some pre-existing condition, usually meaning like we've been pregnant before, or maybe you're in perimenopause or menopause and you have less hormones, less collagen. This is important for you later, okay? And or like have tissue that is disrupted, you can actually create what's called organ prolapse, meaning that you can push muscles of your uterus, your urethra, your anus, so your rectum, okay, or even your uterus into or out of your vaginal opening.
Oh, wow.
No one wants that.
I've heard about the like pushing your rectum like inside out, but I've never heard of it in terms of like peeing and pushing your uterus out.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so it's just a peeing or pooping. It's the same thing. We're creating this excessive inner abdominal pressure here, and we're pushing those organs down and out of our body. And hemorrhoids are actually a type of prolapse tissue as well. We have these tissues that are like this, like kind of like little massive blood vessels. And when we're creating all that pressure, we can actually cause that to push out of the skin and create these little pockets. And it can be internal hemorrhoids, which are inside the anus, or external, which are outside. And those are the ones you can see. But either way, they can bleed, they can itch like crazy, they can be painful. And this is part of why also both of us love a bidet.
I love a bidet.
And this is not one of the videos we're going to watch, but several people have told me that they've seen videos about how bidets can make hemorrhoids worse.
Really?
Yes.
Can they?
I don't think that they can unless you're literally using a fire hose, which that's not how they're meant to be used. So unless you're creating tissue damage because you have it turned on so strong, that shouldn't be an issue because we're actually reducing the number of wipes we're having to do, reducing that friction, which then that should create less problems versus more.
Okay.
So not a video we're watching, but if you watch that video, there's your answer. So
Interesting.
but yeah, so no pushing when you pee or poop, and also breathe everything down and out, and get off the toilet as fast as you can because gravity pulling all of those things down in the bowl, also not great. Girl, tell her you get home. Hello all, this is Dr. Heidi. I'd like to apologize to Nicole as well as you all for today's rather abrupt ending. We had a little technical glitch and we lost the end of the podcast. I want to jump in here and tell you where you can find Nicole. You can find her at www.dope
kitchen.com, where you can find a link tree to everywhere you can find her on social media, including TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Substack. You can find amazing recipes, some really fun content, if you can't tell by how funny she is on today's episode. And you can follow along with her and her partner's amazing next steps, where they are going to be journeying cross country in a camper that they built out, and they are going from California to Rhode Island. Really fun stuff if you want to follow along. And so please like, follow, and subscribe to her channels. As per usual, we really appreciate you coming on today, and likes, follows, and subscribe to our channels here at Menopause Unscripted really help us to continue to make great free educational content for you. Look for upcoming episodes that have more about how social media and AI can be tools for your healthcare decision making in ways that you can better use them to make informed choices. Look for those upcoming, and we will see you next week. Thanks again.
Now, I have to end with the boring stuff. While I am a doctor, I am not your doctor. This podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. If something in today's episode resonated with you, please bring this to your own healthcare team and self-advocate. We always are promoting that. I cannot wait for you to join me on next week's episode of Menopause Unscripted for another hot topic.